All righty, everybody. Welcome to the Talk Bridal to Me podcast. I am here with Emily McBride, and she is a florist in local Spokane. Emily, it's so good to have you here today.
I'm so excited. This is going to be fun.
Yes, it is. I always love talking to vendors that are in such a different space than I am because I know nothing about florals. And if somebody asked me to arrange a flower bouquet, I'd probably just go to Costco and just grab
something.
Something and be like, that'll work.
Yep, that looks great.
Looks good. So I don't even know how to tell. Like, I can tell if someone has bad florals, but I don't know how to tell if it's like good. So I'm excited to talk with you and pick your brain today.
I'm excited.
But first, yes, we want to get to know you. So what's a funny story your family tells about you that you'd like to share today?
Okay, so I had no idea. When you sent me this question, I was like, total blank drawn, right? I'm like, okay, I know there's funny things about me, but what are they? So I texted my mom, sister, and little brother. I'm like, guys, I need a funny story. Like, I don't know. So there's one my brother brought up, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's a good one. So when I was 17, I bought my first car. So I bought a 82 Toyota pickup. Okay. And loved it. Great. So I went and picked it up, and I hadn't driven a manual since I was 10 when they taught me. But I was like, oh yeah, I got this.
It's going to be fine.
So we buy it and we leave this guy's driveway. And then I get stuck on a tiny little 2% incline hill. I cannot get it going. And I just keep killing it, trying to just leave this guy's driveway. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I really just do this? And I'm just like, and then I killed it driving it home. Because of course I could drive it home. Right. I killed it, I think 4 times at a stoplight.
Oh my gosh.
Because I couldn't remember how to drive a manual. So I had to reteach myself when I was driving. It was terrible.
Oh my goodness.
Bad. That I was 17, embarrassed. It was so bad.
That sounds like something that I would do because my husband tried to teach me how to drive a stick shift. And I can drive it, but it's not cute.
Right. You're like, I got this, but it's going to take me some time to get him going. That's all right. I had to teach. Now I'm a professional at it, right? Of course. I had to teach my husband how to drive a stick. So that was great. Made me feel good. I was like,
you're like, that's right. I knew how to do it.
You didn't.
Well, and I know you just had a baby too. So tell us a little bit like how long you've been married, where you're from and that sort of thing.
So we've been married 4 years this year together, 7 or 8. I always do that. I think it's going on 8. Had our first baby in December of last year. He's wonderful and adorable, of course. He's a handful. I'm learning when people are like, oh, your life is totally different. It's over, and not in a bad way. It totally is. Every day is different with him. And we are both, my husband and I, are from a small town in central Washington.
Okay.
Before we moved here. Sorry. And then we have dogs.
We'll just cut that part.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. That we have someone working on the house. So.
Yeah. No worries.
Okay.
Well, tell us a little bit how you got started in the floral industry.
So I started 12 years ago now. I was 19 and all I did was wash buckets in a flower shop. It's like a side job to have while I went to college. But I didn't think anything of it. I didn't want to be a florist. That was never, I always wanted to do something medical related. That was what I was going to school for. And then one day after 6 months or a year, they're like, hey, you want to try to learn? And I was like, well, I guess, why not? Whatever. And then I just, boom, I loved it. I was like, oh, this is easy. I got this. Oh, I mean, now I look back on stuff that I've done and I took pictures and I'm like, oh, girl, no, you were awful. You were terrible. You had no idea what you were doing. But now, after all this time, I always am trying to better myself and learn. And I love it because you can just use what you think looks good together, as you're doing something, kind of like when you're doing somebody's makeup, you're like, oh, this will look really good, or take it out. Nope, that looks awful. So it's just nice. And then you don't think about anything else while you're working. It's just that,
Oh man, that's so nice.
Yeah.
So pretend a client inquires with you regarding florals. What's kind of the next step into building what they want?
Usually I have it's it's probably like 25 questions questionnaire, kind of try to get idea of what they want.
Yeah.
It's hard when they don't know when they just are like, oh, I want white and green, and then that's it. I'm like, well, do you have any inspo? Because people don't know what things are. I'm like, I need to know what you're envisioning. So usually we start with a questionnaire and their budget and like where the venue is, because, you know, they want to go all the way to Schweitzer. I can't do it for a couple $100.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
So it just depends. So usually once they inquire, as long as I have their date open, then I send them my questionnaire. And then I'm always happy to meet if they want to get together or do a phone or Zoom. It just kind of goes from there.
Yes.
How we do it.
I know for my wedding, I went to our local like Super One / Rose Hours, and I was like, I just want red and white and some greenery. And they were like, okay. And they did it. And I look back and I'm like, oh, Anna, like that was not.
No, I mean, right?
We did our whole entire wedding for $4,000, and that included the venue, the dress. We were so broke. It was not even funny.
But at least you did it.
But we did it. Yeah, absolutely. And so I remember just going in and having no clue and just being like, these are my colors.
Right. Don't care. Just do whatever. But the fun thing is sometimes those are my favorite brides. When they're like, I don't care. Here's my color scheme. Here's my budget. Have at it. Because then I can be like, oh, well, then I'll just do what I think's pretty.
Yeah. Well, and you can have some creative say. Absolutely.
Yep. And that's so nice when clients do that. Instead of like, here's a picture, kind of like with you with makeup. It's like, this is exactly what I want. Versus you're like, well, this would look better.
Yeah.
You know? So it's always nice when they're like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for letting me help just a little bit and give you some insight. Yeah. On what actually would look good.
For sure. Do you feel like there are a certain kind of styles and trends that kind of ebb and flow with different florals or types of flowers, or what's kind of your input on that?
Oh yeah. There's trends that just kind of like right now, like the pampas grass was a thing the last couple years. The boho pampas, that was everything everywhere. And before that it was like burgundies and blushes, which is very pretty. So now people are going towards more like organic, gardeny looking things that they don't actually look like a professional did them.
Okay.
Which I'm obsessed with because they're all colorful. They're like, give me purples, pinks, yellows. And you're like, yes.
Yes.
So, but then you always get the classic all white, which I always love. Because you can't go wrong with that. But
I was talking to a wedding planner last weekend, and they were saying that color is coming back in as far as the whole wedding color scheme, and which is so fun.
So fun, because last year it was all like neutrals, creams, beiges, whites. That was it. And then before that, it was all white and greenery. So it's so nice to finally get some color. Well, and it just looks better.
Yeah, you probably have more to work with and more options because I'm sure there are only so many flowers that come in those colors.
Right, exactly. Like you're limited, plus depends on the time of the year. It's like, yes, you can get almost everything all year, but it might not look as good because it's not a season, kind of thing. Like roses and carnations are the only fail-safe that's safe. It's the only thing that you'll for sure get that'll look good. But other than that,
you just never know.
You never know. No, you never know. Like one week I'll have like these amazing Lysianthus, and then the next week they're just total garbage, and I have to throw them away, which is always a bummer.
That is hard.
Yeah.
Do you get your flowers from a wholesaler or are they local? How do you go about even getting the flowers to begin with?
I usually I get them. I always order them ahead of time from a wholesaler, either locally, and then I have one that is from LA that I'll order from just because they're larger so they can get more different things that I need. But then in the summertime, depending on the client, like if she wants that gardeny look, I'll go to a couple local farms, pick from them, and then go pick up my wholesale flowers because then I'll know what I already have. It just looks better,
Yeah. Oh, that totally makes sense.
And when you get it local, it lasts so much longer because when I get it from the wholesaler, it's already been cut for like a week plus before I even get it. Not that they don't last, they just don't last near as long.
Yeah, right. Because you've already spent that cut time pre-wedding.
Right, exactly. So
that makes sense.
And not that it matters. I mean, a wedding is only a day, but most people keep their flowers afterwards as long as possible. So
absolutely. It's fun to have it keeping looking fresh.
Oh yeah, totally. I always tell my brides because they always wear, I'm like, keep it, add water, call me when they die and I'll get my vases back, you know, because I feel bad. I'm like, you just spent all this money. I don't want you to throw it away, you know, which brides do, but I hate when they do. I feel awful when they have to do that.
I remember I kept my wedding bouquet for several years, and we had moved quite a few times, and I had tried to move it every single time we moved. And by about the 5th time and it's dry and the leaves are falling off, I went, forget it. And I ended up throwing it away, but I'm like, I spent all this money on my bouquet. I want to keep it, you know, even granted, it was probably like $30 because it was from Super One.
It was from Super One.
But they probably just like plucked random flowers from the bouquet they already had. And like, here you go.
Here you go. You said red and white. Here you go, lady. Perfect. You didn't care. This is what you get. But it is nice to keep them. The same thing. I did the same thing with mine. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna keep it. It sat in a box for 3 years. And I finally threw it away this year. I was like, it's too dry to do anything with. So I just tossed it.
Absolutely.
Yep. I mean, you can do really fun things with them now, but you have to do it like right after your wedding.
Yes.
You know, as where we just left ours sitting and it just falls apart.
Yes. So, and you have to be intentional.
Yes, exactly. On what you want.
Absolutely.
And then you have to spend money on that though.
Yes. Well, I was saying, do you have any tips for people who want to preserve their bouquets? Because I know there are different companies and even some local who do that.
Yeah. So there's the Petite Pansy. She's awesome. She was doing resin, which is the clear stuff where they put it in. You make like bookmarks and all that cool stuff. I don't think she's doing that anymore because I know it's really hard to work with. But she does do dried, and she'll flatten them in a frame for you or glue them, I think, in a shadow box. I'm not sure how she does it. But there are a lot of fun ways you can do them. But you can always do it yourself too if you're on a budget. Just buy a shadow box and some super glue or a glue gun, you know.
Yeah. Put them in there.
It's not going to look as good, but.
Well, I don't know if you have to like flatten them and let them air out, because I think if you just put them in the shadow box, they would mold.
Right. So you do have to dry them, but then you have to make sure, like the few times I have done it, I dry them and then I basically like rearrange it in the shadow box so I don't keep all the stems because it's so bulky, and then I just super glue it and just like make a whole pretty picture frame. Which is easy to do, but if you're not creative, it's not going to work. You have to have a little bit of creativity or you're going to fail.
That makes sense.
Yes. But flattening is my favorite, but you have to do that when they're still live or it won't work. But I don't know how to do that.
I'll just crumble.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll make a moldy. I don't know how to do it. That's for the professionals.
For the bride who might be on a budget, I know different flowers cost different things. So is there like a cheaper flower that you would use for somebody who may be more of a budget bride versus more an expensive flower? Like, do you have people coming to you saying, I want this, but then they don't realize how much it costs?
Right. Yeah. So like roses, honestly, roses and carnations are your best bet. And roses still look pretty, but they're not near as expensive as the brides who want orchids and ranunculus and all of these more organic looking flowers. Those are so like, they're like anywhere from they could go as high as $8 a stem. So like one bloom. I mean, it's crazy. So I say, Phil, if you're on a budget, roses and carnations are your safest bet. Always. And anytime you, like when I have brides that are on a budget and I understand and they give me this crazy bouquet, I'll tell them, I'm like, truthfully, you can't afford it. You just can't. And I'll explain to them and I'll break it down and they totally get it. And I'm like, I can give you that style, but not with those flowers. And then they're usually fine with that. They're like, okay, you know, just put it in my budget. Because flowers are not cheap, especially after COVID. They're so expensive now.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Well, but that's amazing that you have the expertise to know that and kind of can custom build a bouquet and say, this is what this costs, that's what this costs, and put it all together, and it works. Right. Yes. And it is nice to know. And I enjoy when someone's like, I will take your advice because I have no idea what things cost. And I can or can't afford them. Absolutely. So it is nice. Yeah. That is nice. What's something that a client might misunderstand about what you do?
A lot of people think what I do is super easy. They think it's like, oh, you get to play with flowers and for the day, and then boom, that's it.
For the day.
Yeah. No, a lot of people do. They're like, oh, what do you get them like the day before? Or do you do it like, some people think that I do it like a month in advance. And then I don't know if they think I could keep them in a cooler or what they think. But most people don't realize how labor intensive it is, what I do. Like usually a good size wedding, my weekday starts on Tuesday, and I get the flowers, and then I spend anywhere, usually a bigger, medium, big wedding, I will spend anywhere from 3 to 6 to 8 hours even cleaning, because you have to clean each individual stem. You have to put it in water. Like you have to clean off anything bad that's on. Yeah. You open each box. It's a lot of garbage and very time consuming. And then you have to build as you go. So it's like, okay, next day I'll make centerpieces, cut everything and design. And it's not, certain things, yes, are easy, but it takes, usually it's a 4 or 5 day process ahead of time. Mm-hmm.
And see, I didn't even know that. And I'm in the wedding industry.
Well, why would you? Like, you know,
I don't know. I've been to a couple different floral shops and have seen sometimes their work. And I know there's just like greenery scraps everywhere.
Right.
And cardboard. And I'm just like, what is happening? This is all.
And it's gross. It's like, oh my gosh, you're in this just disaster, but you don't have time to constantly clean it.
No.
And it sounds so dumb. It's like when you're cleaning a stem, I don't have time to constantly aim for my garbage can. So it's going on the floor. And usually like halfway through my day, I'll stop, clean it up, and then it gets dirty again. Yeah. It's easier. I don't have, just don't have time.
Perfect. Yeah.
Unless do you have
do you have a studio or do you work from your home?
Kind of. I have, my basement is my studio. So I took over our entire bottom floor. It originally was like half a living room, and I had like this little corner, and then I was like, sorry. I took it all.
That's awesome. You'll have to send me a picture of it because I want to see.
I will. Yeah, it's. I love being out because I'll be like, oh, I'm going to go upstairs and have lunch and take like a 20-minute nap if I need to.
Perfect.
Come back down.
I know. I love having my studio in my house. Like,
right? Because then it's like 10 o'clock at night. You're like, oh, cool. I can go get a few things done.
Yeah, absolutely. Right after my kiddos are in bed, I'm just like,
yes. Like, oh, I'm going to go. Right. It's nice. It's all right here.
Yep. It's perfect. Yes. Are there any unique things that you can do with florals besides general bouquets?
What do you mean by unique things?
Like
flower crowns.
Like what are some of the possibilities that people could do with flowers on their wedding days? Like I've seen big like flower installs.
Yes, huge. Like, I love
what kinds
those.
Of things? Like what are the possibilities?
Oh, anything. Like I love when someone wants to do a huge install. Like I'm going to do a photo shoot in a couple months, and I'm going to do, because if you think about whenever anybody does anything, it's always just like box, right?
Yeah.
Or like if they do a hanging piece, it's just straight across. So I'm going to do like an oval shape hanging down from the ceiling. It's going to look so cool. But I mean, you can really do, it's endless what you can do with flowers. Like I've seen things that people do. They make arm twisty bracelets and neckties and dresses. I mean, I couldn't go that far. I'm not going to lie. I'm not that talented.
That sounds like
I don't have the time to do that. But I mean, I've seen, there's this one amazing designer I follow from the East Coast, and she does like full on statue figures full of floral and greenery.
Wow.
Just like uses chicken wire and makes like the shape of it and then just throws flowers in it. And it's unbelievable. I'm stuck with, I can do almost any kind of install if someone lets me use my imagination, on a tree, above a tree, anything that they'll let me do, I can do. But I'm not doing a whole animal. I can't.
You want a tiger? Go somewhere else.
Yeah, seriously.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone looking for a florist for their wedding?
Stalk their social media. Absolutely stalk it. So that you can see what their style is and if their style is what you like. Because like Christina Rose, she's another florist in Spokane, and I adore her, and she's amazing, but she's definitely got her own style. Like her style, if you look at my stuff and her stuff, two totally different things. Like she could do my stuff and I could do her stuff, but we still, like, we have our style and we love our style. Like she's very airy and whimsical and very gardeny, as where I'm a little more, I like big, heavy, flower dense things. Like I like throwing it all in there. Like I love huge bridal bouquets, over the top. I don't like little small things. I'm like, oh, when a bride's like, oh, I want it tiny, I'm like, oh, are you sure? I can go big.
Want like some giant ferns.
Right. Let me do it. Like I'll just go over the top. But I love when the brides are like, okay, do whatever, I want it big, huge. I want it bigger than me. I'm like, yes, you got it. Like challenge me, please. But I always say just stock, because if you do get a florist that can't do other styles, your wedding day won't be what you think it's going to be. As weird as that sounds, she'll do her best, but if she can't do another style, then you're going to get her style and not the style you were wanting or thinking in your mind.
Absolutely. Well, and I feel like bridal styles have come so far, because I got married almost 12 years ago and it was just the classic round bouquet.
Yep.
And now you look online and there's like these big oval things where it's almost like what my parents had hanging over a doorway, where it was just like,
like a huge like swag thing.
Yes, it was a huge swag thing. It has greenery coming out and they hold it horizontally and it just looks like this garden in front of them, and it's amazing. And I would have never thought of that all those years ago, but you see it now and it's like, what?
Which is probably one of my favorite things about being a florist is it's always changing. The design always changed. Because even when I got married almost 4 years ago, that was not a look. It just wasn't. That wasn't even a look then. It was your style and then maybe a little more greenery. And then that was it. But now it's these huge pieces, or it's the cascading that's coming back from like when our parents got married. Yes. That's, the one that the teardrop looking one, that's really popular again, which is fine. But yeah, it's all, before, like when I got married, it was the same. All bridal bouquets kind of look the same, just different flowers. And now it's like, I have 10 different style bridal bouquets in a week, in a month. It's like each wedding is different and it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Because you just never stop like learning and figuring out and finding new designs and things you love and don't love and what you're good at and what you're bad at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Are you able to take more than one wedding in a weekend, or is it just like you have a Saturday booked and that's it as far as how the flowers go?
No, last year I was crazy and adventurous the last 2 years, and I took anywhere from 2 to 3 weddings a weekend. This year with the baby, I'm only taking 1, maybe 2, depending on how much they need, or if they're on different days, I'll take them, which is great. But I'm trying to not, because I have to realize, oh, you have a baby. You can't work till midnight every night, kind of thing. Like you have a child now. So, but that is the benefit to what we do as florists is we can do more than one, as long as we have the help and can manage our time right on wedding day. Yeah. We can usually do more than one.
Right. Because all your work is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is before the actual wedding, and you go and you drop it off and then it's
right. Yeah, it is all done. The only thing that's never done personally, I know some florists do it differently, like arbor pieces. I do all of those on site because to me, every arbor is different. So I like the flowers to flow with the structure itself. So I do those on site, but those only usually take me an hour, 2 hours tops, and then I leave. Or if they want a really big install, or the I'm sure you've seen it, the freestanding, the broken arch, that's a thing now, that I do on site. And so if I have one of those, I'll only do that in a day because it takes hours. But usually everything is done the day before. I have everything done before I head out on Saturday.
That makes sense. Yes. Well, if you could go back before you were married and give yourself one piece of wedding planning advice, what would it be?
Get my hair and makeup done. Absolutely.
Did you do it yourself?
Yes. And I regret it fully. I'm like, oh, I can do this. It's fine.
It'll be no big deal.
And it's like, I did my makeup and then I tried to put fake lashes on, failed.
Oh, no.
I even had someone try to help me, failed. So I'm like, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. And then I look back at pictures and I'm like, I really needed some makeup because I just looked meh, like every day, you know? And same with my hair. It was just like every day. And I'm like, oh, I really should have. And it's because we planned our wedding. We were living in Texas, got married in Washington. So I think I was just trying to make things easier on me.
Yeah.
Trying to plan it somewhere else. So I just skipped those steps. And that's probably one of my biggest regrets.
That's so funny.
That I did my own hair and makeup. It was a terrible idea.
Well, I know what my husband and I did is for our 10-year anniversary, we recreated some of our wedding photos.
Oh, that's
and so you could go back, get your hair and makeup done for those, recreate some of your wedding photos, have them side by side. And it could be like that, what's the word where you're like, yes, now I did it, you know?
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's a good idea. Cause I still have my wedding dress and my husband's like, what are you going to do with it? I don't know. It's going to sit in my closet.
That's what we did. We went back to our venue and we wore the original dress. He wore his suit and we recreated some of the same pictures in the same spot and like put it side by side.
Idea. Oh, I'm totally doing that. That's genius. Cause then I can be like, because I made him do the one photo shoot so I could get some more fun pictures and get all.
Yes.
And he hated it, but he totally had a good time. So I know I could make him do it again. Hopefully.
That's so fun. Yeah. There you go. Well, anything else that you want to input today?
Book your vendors, whether it's me or anybody. If you like somebody, just pay the deposit and make sure you can make changes later because like my next year is I already have 2 weekends totally, 2 or 3 that are totally booked already for next year.
Wow.
So that's probably my only advice is don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're unsure, tell them, be like, hey, I'm unsure. I'm bouncing around between people. And then they'll know. Okay. And they'll reach out to you, be like, hey, someone else is interested. Do you want me or not?
Yep.
But it sucks when, even for me, when I get a client that I absolutely want and then she takes too long and then I don't have her date anymore. And I hate that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, I really wanted to do your wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that would probably be the best advice. Do your research and book as soon as you find somebody you love.
Absolutely. Well, Emily, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
So fun. And I feel like we need to like just get together and chat one of these days.
Absolutely.
It was so good just to hang out with you.
Yes, you too. I had so much fun.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.